All right, we don't screen your phone calls. We've got loaded phones from earlier on a host of subjects: government takeover of health care, the hate crimes bill Obama's about to sign that restricts the First Amendment. New York is saying, okay, we won't force nurses and people to take the shots. They've already done that with some people, though. And so there's a lot of liability there. They're going to get sued now. They committed some pretty serious crimes. The FCC saying they're going to take over the Internet, but they're putting this out as if they want to protect the Internet. We've got Stuart Rhodes of Oath Keepers, who's just getting military and police by the tens of thousands to say, we're going to follow the Bill of Rights Constitution. We're not going to confiscate guns. We're not going to build FEMA camps, which is all happening. Chris Slimeball Matthews on Slimeball wouldn't let him talk, demonized him. We're going to play some clips of that and have him on live coming up later in the last hour today. And we've also got Daryl Rundis coming on with his youdonews.com and our Friday visit that we always have with researcher, economist, top stockbroker, newsletter writer, Bob Chapman in the next hour. I know a lot of news stations are turning us on, and I also know that the Friday show gets re-aired Saturday afternoons on XM. So let me just recap that we had part 1 Monday, part 2 Tuesday. This is part 3 today with Lindsey Williams. Lindsey Williams was a aeronautical missionary. He flew all over the world into remote areas, Baptist preacher. And he did such a great job on the pipelines almost 30 years ago when they were building the Trans-Alaska Pipeline that got the drinking, the gambling, the fighting down so much that he got brought into the board meetings of 3 major oil companies and was assigned to one of the major ones. And he wrote a book about it, named all the names, went over it. He then, almost 2 years ago, called me and said, look, I just talked to one of these former CEOs who I was a chaplain for in the board meetings, kind of like their little mascot is the way he puts it. And he said, look, your video, The Energy Non-Crisis, that accompanied his book, had been #1 on Google when it would trade places with my films, Endgame, and others. Literally, his would be #1 one day, mine would be #1 for a day, his would be #1 for a week, ours would, and it would trade places with other people's films like America, Freedom to Fascism. All the top videos were always our videos. Sometimes we'd get 100,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 views a day. Tens of millions. Then Google shut down Google Video. You can't upload anymore. And they play with the counters and stuff on YouTube, but we're still #1 there. He called up and he said, look, you're basically going to get killed, pal, if you keep explaining how much oil we've got in Alaska. And they admit now all the stuff he talked about years ago has come true. So in hindsight, I take what Lindsey says very seriously. Then almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago or so, a little more than a year and a half ago, he gets a call from this guy threatening him to shut up. But he says, but you can tell people this, just don't use my name. The guy's almost 90 years old, former top head of an oil company. I know who he is, but I'm not going to say. I only know because from Lindsey's book and previous interviews, I know who the 3 oil company executives were he worked with. I know, and then I could check the age. Lindsey told me and could tell, but I'll never tell because we'll lose sources as journalists if we do that. The issue here is that Lindsey then had been right in the past and really done a lot of great reporting. He said this guy told him oil will drop from 150, and it was 150 at that time, to below 50 for at least the next year. That happened. Now it started going back up. A year plus has passed. It started going back up right at about a year. He called Lindsey up about, I guess, a week and a half ago and gave him this new information. And we've been calling Lindsey every few months, wanting to get him back on. He said, no, I'm doing missionary work, spending time with my family. I'm out of the country. And I said, you ought to call this guy back. He did. Well, he didn't call him until just a few weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Talked to him, and this guy, he found out had almost died recently. So he went ahead and spilt his guts. Now, Lindsey, in the time we have, I want to move quick because I want to get callers on air at 1-800-259-9231 directly for you. I don't want to penalize the other callers that we're already holding, so we'll go to them first, but they can make a quick point and then ask you a question. So just briefly, recap what you did cover in the first 2 parts, and then you went through the timeline of what this insider told you was going to happen. So, Lindsey Williams, it's good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Alex. And only a few days ago, now, folks, this is not a year ago, 6 months ago. This is a few days ago. I'm going to tell you the high points of what this man said. Please write them down. Believe you me, he said it was going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. And if you could believe it a year and a half ago, you can believe today that this person knows exactly what he's talking about. Here we go. Within 2 years, you will not recognize America. Oh, my goodness. Then he went on down to explain. I'm not going to take time for explanations on each of these because I did it on the show the other day. The elite have altered their timeline. They altered their timeline because you and me as taxpayers gave the elite approximately $2.5 trillion in the last few months of the Bush administration. I can't elaborate on that either. Let's go on down again. After 2 years, you will be so poor, you will not be able to do anything. In other words, they have it planned. Folks, please believe me. There is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. The name of the game is control. After 2 years, they have it planned. This is already in the works. They've sat in the G8 meetings behind closed doors. This man knows everything that they have said. He is over 85 years of age. When you start to face the graveyard, you tell a lot of things. And probably there's no way in this world that he would have ever said what he said, except years and years ago. I'm probably one of the few chaplains he ever knew. I'm going to go ahead and give you the rest of it. After 2 years, you'll be so poor, you will not be able to rebel. Okay, in their timeline, because they have altered it somewhat, inflation will escalate over a period of 2 years. 2 years ago, he had said that it would take place much faster. Because of the alteration of that timeline, this is to your advantage, Americans. Take hope in the fact that you still have time to do something. He kept on using the expression 2 years over and over and over. I was amazed how that they have set their time as to when they plan to do it. Crude oil, I'm sure you want to know what's happening to it because it's going up to about $80. It is not going back to 147 again where it was anytime soon. It will, and he told me when it was going back there, not only there, but it's going way past there. I'll give it to you in a few minutes if we have time. Again, gold and silver. I did not ask him that question 2 years ago, and so many talk show hosts have asked me over the past 2 years, where is gold and silver going? When we talked a few days ago, I asked him, what can we expect? He said, gold, folks, please note this. Gold and silver are all you can rely on. The elite don't use paper. They laugh at it. It means nothing to them. It is their currency. Gold and silver is. And gold and silver will continue to escalate and will escalate rapidly. And he said, gold and silver are all you can rely on. Next point. By 2012 is so important. I guess you can hear it in my voice. I mean, this man, the things he told me, I'm still shuddering in my shoes. It shakes me even yet when I think of it. By 2012, the dollar will be dead. I mean, am I on calendar that year? No, I don't pay attention to that. But this gentleman, let it be known, by 2012, the dollar will be dead. Now, the one that startles me even yet, war is planned. Now, you may remember that 2 years ago, this gentleman said to me, we do not want war with Iran right now. Yet all of our warships, airplanes, everything else were lined up over there in the Gulf and by the Strait of Hormuz, and everybody, even I, was predicting on talk shows, you better watch out. We might have a war with Iran. He said back then, it's not going to take place right now. As a result, I stopped saying it. And I said on your show back about a year and a half ago, Alex, we're not going to have war with Iran right now. I thought I was crazy because everything had been made in the way of preparation for war with Iran. You are going to have war over there in the Middle East, though. Now, he says it's going to take place. Are you ready? Timeline? Again, I beg of you folks, please, please, please listen to what we're saying. If he was right about the price of crude oil a year and a half ago, he's right about this also. He knows what's going on. War is planned after 2 years in the Middle East, and at that time you are going to see gasoline at the gas pump go to $7, $8, and $10 a gallon almost overnight. Okay, next one. The elite are laughing. I got to put this in between times. The elite are literally laughing at us gullible, stupid Americans. Alex, thank you for this new DVD you just put out. You are getting, congratulations. It is a masterpiece. Everybody in America's got to have it. I was with a businessman on yesterday here in Phoenix, Arizona, and he said, Chaplain, I am making 1,000 copies of Alex Jones' new DVD, and he said, I'm taking them to Las Vegas with me this weekend to a convention and giving them away. You got 1,000 copies of your DVD going to Las Vegas this weekend.
Our listeners are going wild with Follow the Republic, and they need to do the same thing with the presentation you've done. Please continue. Let's get into the timeline.
Okay, the elite are laughing at us. They think that we gullible Americans are stupid. Here we go with the timeline. Within 2 years, nearly everyone will be working for the government. Watch the increase of people working for the government. I was listening to the news yesterday morning. I normally don't listen to it. I'm sure you caught it yesterday because it was on the national news.